Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Hey, good morning, my friends. I hope everybody's doing well today. We're going to have a little bit of fun here in Kingman, Arizona. We're going to be talking about tourism, building a sense of community, challenges of small
Hey everyone,
business.
welcome back.
And, well, we're just going to have a great time this morning. I've got a good friend coming in and I'm going to talk about a little store that's overlooked a lot, makes a big impact, Import Corner. It's a little bit chilly this morning, still dry here in Kingman, Arizona. It's about 40 degrees here. Studios of Jim Hinckley's America, within spitting distance of legendary Route 66. Before we get to our program, let's give a shout out to some of our sponsors real quick. And then, we'll get to this.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into something a little different today.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes, you could say.
Exactly. We're talking about the heart and soul, really, of Coffee with Jim.
The backbone.
Yeah, the sponsors, those awesome folks who help keep Jim Hinckley's voice on the airwaves.
And on Podbean, of course. That's where you can find Jim Hinckley's America and the Coffee with Jim podcast every week. Exploring the heartland, especially Route 66.
And when you think about it, these sponsors aren't just names in an ad break. They're like little pieces of Route 66 themselves.
Each one a different experience, like a little mini road trip all its own.
So let's start cruising. First stop, the Roadrunner Lodge Motel.
Oh yeah, in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
If you're looking to step back in time, this is the place.
It's like walking straight into the 1960s, and Jim's a big believer in preserving those classic roadside spots, right?
Absolutely. And the Roadrunner Lodge, they just nail it.
5 years running, they've been recognized by USA Today.
You just got to say something. You know what I heard? What's that? They have a dedicated radio station playing only music and commercials from that era.
No way!
Seriously. You're immersed in it from the moment you arrive.
Wow. Talk about an immersive experience.
I tell you, it's the little details that make all the difference. Like one time I stayed at a vintage motel and they had a fully restored jukebox in the lobby.
Oh, cool.
It was amazing. That's the kind of dedication you get at places like the Roadrunner.
Makes you want to book a stay right now.
Right. And when you do, tell them you want the Tiki Themes room.
Oh, definitely. Okay, next stop on our sponsor tour.
Let's head to Missouri.
The Wagon Wheel Motel. One of the oldest on Route 66 that's still rolling.
That's right, in Cuba, Missouri. And still running strong.
Connie Eccles, the owner, she's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, keeping that Route 66 charm, but also, updating things for the modern traveler.
Gotta have that Wi-Fi.
Exactly. It's that perfect mix that Jim always talks about, that blend of nostalgia and genuine hospitality.
You can't beat it.
Now, before we leave the wagon wheel, you got to swing by the gift shop.
Oh, good call.
Pick up a signed copy of one of Jim's books.
And then grab a bite to eat.
Ooh, good idea.
There's Shelley's or Weir on 66, both nearby. Heard they're great.
Perfect. All right, next up, we're heading to the land of enchantment.
New Mexico.
The Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park.
Now this is in Albuquerque, right on historic Route 66.
And get this, wake up to views of the Sandia Mountains right from your RV.
Seriously, that's amazing.
Oh, it gets better. They have pull-through sites, full hookups, Wi-Fi, a pool, even a hot tub.
Wow, everything you could want.
And you know what else they have?
What?
A gift shop filled with Native American crafts and regional foods.
Oh, that sounds perfect for picking up some souvenirs.
And here's the coolest part. The owner, Vicky Ashcraft, she's a Route 66 expert.
No kidding.
Yeah, she's the president of the Route 66 Association of New Mexico.
Get out of here. So you could basically get all the insider tips on what to see and do right there.
Absolutely. Talk about a valuable resource. Okay, ready for another blast from the past?
Always. Where are we going?
We're going back to the mid-1950s.
Whoa, time travel.
Pretty much. It's the Cactus Inn Motel in McLean, Texas.
Okay, I've heard of this place.
Angela Moreland, the owner, she's transformed this place into a total time capsule.
Like authentically retro.
You got it. And if you get hungry, the Red River Steakhouse is right next door.
Nice. Dinner and a time warp all in one.
You know, it's places like this that keep the spirit of Route 66 alive.
Absolutely. They're like living museums.
Speaking of keeping the spirit alive, we got to mention Route Trip USA.
Oh, yeah. Great folks.
They specialize in creating those dream road trips. Bespoke itineraries, totally customized.
So whether you're a Route 66 enthusiast or you want to explore the Canadian Rockies or whatever your travel dream is,
they can make it happen.
I love that. It's like they take Jim's stories and make them real for you.
Exactly. Okay. And of course, no Coffee with Jim shout out would be complete without thanking our amazing Patreon supporters.
Couldn't agree more.
They are the wind beneath Jim's wings, so to speak.
They keep the stories coming, the coffee brewing, the whole thing going.
Truly. And their support is what allows Jim to keep sharing his passion for America's heartland. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all our Patreon supporters.
And to all the sponsors we talked about today, you make Coffee with Jim possible.
So if you're listening and haven't checked out the podcast yet, what are you waiting for?
It's the perfect way to experience Route 66, even if you're just armchair traveling.
And who knows, maybe it'll inspire your next road trip adventure.
And as you're listening to Jim's stories, think about what calls to you the most about Route 66. What sparks that wanderlust in you?
Is it the history? The wide open spaces? Nostalgia? Whatever it is, I guarantee you'll find a piece of it with one of these fantastic sponsors.
So go explore.
Happy travels, everyone.
And keep on cruising.
Well, folks.
Well, good morning, my friend. How's things out at Import Corner?
Good. Am I live?
Yes, you are.
All right, and you can hear me just fine?
Yeah, I'm alive too. I had a pulse this morning. Let's see if I can keep that going for the rest of the day.
There you go.
My friend, how are you doing today? It's a beautiful day in Kingman, isn't it?
It is. Waiting for the sun to come up, but it's a beautiful temperature. Nice and brisk. I like it like this.
Oh, it's perfect for a sunrise walkabout.
Yeah, I saw you the other day too. You like these cold walks, Jim?
Yeah, in the mornings, I tell you, I do. Uh, it depends on what we define as cold. Our idea of winter here in Kingman is kind of like a spring day in Minnesota, but yeah, this is good weather. I don't mind it at all.
No, I've always been a cold person myself, so I appreciate it.
Where do you want to start today? We probably want to start with Import Corner.
Yeah.
That is an overlooked little gem here in Kingman at the Airport Industrial Park. But people who find it, they can't stop talking about it.
Well, we try our best. So Import Corner started out in 2001, out there at the Kingman Airport. My parents were out there in general, originally because they moved their factory doing brass and copper planters from California to Arizona, and it was where the factories were. So back in the 90s, when brass and copper prices started to plummet, my parents transitioned from being a brass and copper manufacturer to an import export home and garden store because they were already in this industry. And um, my mom started out this little nook in the front, and over as time went by, it took over the entire factory. Now we have over 20,000 square feet filled to the brim with home and garden decor from 50 plus countries. Um, and we make sure that we're unique. We have everything from suits of armor to giant LED trees. We're one of the largest importers in the US for Turkish mosaic lamps and ceramics. I started getting into design. So we have unique and one of a kind designs that you can't find anywhere else. But you've been to the store. You know how, I mean, I go in there every day and I still see something new. So
Well, when you mention unique items and ever changing inventory, I got to tell you, I was so shocked that one time when I was out there and you had hand painted donkey carts from, was it Sicily?
No, those are actually from Turkey.
From Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, I challenge. I mean that is just not something you find at Walmart.
We like to joke that we are the largest used wagon dealer in the United States.
Hell, God bless. Hey, and do you ship nationally or
We ship internationally, so
okay?
whether it's Canada or Australia, um, anywhere you want, we can send a box to, even a pallet.
Wow, gosh darn it! And your website's importcorner.com, so that's yeah,
Import
pretty
dash corner, uh,
import-corner.com.
dash corner. Yep.
Yeah, it's a neat story. I've known your parents for a while, Andy and Nora. They're just absolutely tremendous people. And one reason I was excited to talk to you today, there's just so many aspects of your life. But Import Corner is a microcosm of the American experience. It just really is. It's yeah. I just the only way I can put it. It's a real microcosm of what makes this country special.
My parents are some they left big shoes to fill, first off. And two, they are the definition of the American dream. They came here with three kids and 400 bucks, and um, they worked tooth and nail to make something like this possible. I mean, it really makes me appreciate everything that they went through to bring us to this point in time.
Yeah.
So shout out to them for in in all regards, in
Yeah,
all honor.
yeah, most definitely. And but you're writing another chapter in that story yourself because you have quite a diverse background that's brought you to this point.
Diverse is one word. um, I did go to school at the University of Arizona. Um, Graduated in 13, bear down. I majored in ecology and biology. I was pre-med, but I had a very I even took my MCATs. I had a very um, there was something that wasn't sitting right with me with the industry, so I decided not to go that route.
Sure.
Um, Started a social media company back in 2010 when Facebook ads just started. Um, Got out of that in 2013. No, excuse me, 2016, and then moved up here to be closer to the parents, take over the family business, and um, I personally really love Kingman. I think Kingman is one of the perfect places to live. It's close to everything. It's not expensive, and the people here are very nice. So I'm a big fan of Kingman, so I was always looking forward to moving back. And it's been really, I mean, I couldn't have guessed where I would be 5 years ago that I would be here.
Well, and this there again, we framed this as being an all-American story, and it really is. You've dedicated yourself to this town, serving on the city council. You're always involved with community cleanup projects, and even though you're not with the city council now, you've launched another project, right?
Yes.
That
So for me, when last year was when I got to dip my toes in the local government waters. Um, I've always been a believer that if you have a problem with the system, be a part of the change, be a part of the solution.
yes,
And there was an opening on city council, and a good friend of mine, recommended that I should join or put my name in the hat for appointment. And out of 17 candidates, we got chosen, and it really was the spark that ignited this whole passion for my city in a way that I didn't know existed until you're in it. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was getting into. Basically, got a giant, and you know how like in cartoons you see the big binders slammed on the table. It was very much trying to drink from a fire hydrant, and before you knew it. We had cleanup initiatives around town that were aimed at, picking up the trash and making our city look better. The next one is scheduled for February, hopefully. That's tentative, no date set yet, but we're looking at that month. And then as you really start to listen to your constituents and start hearing what people are going through, you know, this glaring, what I call the silver tsunami, what a lot of people now call the silver tsunami, really started to take shape in my vision, in my sights, as the next thing that Keenan really needs to address. I mean, um, I don't know how deep you want me to get into that, but I could talk for days about that.
Well, this is the thing. You have dedicated yourself to this community, and this is one of the things that makes Kingman. There's so many things that make Kingman unique. And one is people like yourself, Jamie Staley, and others that work so hard to build that sense of community. And that, building a sense of community and community purpose, that is key to any. It doesn't matter what initiative you want to bring into a town or city. The first thing you have to do is build a sense of community and community purpose. And your projects do that very well. This city is on the cusp of some dramatic change.
One,
They're working, of course, on the I-11, I-40 interchange, and now the Rancho Santa Fe interchange. That's going to have a huge impact on the airport industrial park.
oh, absolutely. That project is going to be a catalyst. US 93 40 interchange, that one, it's more like a streamline, but I-40 and Rancho Santa Fe is gonna be the big spark that blows up this town's economic development and housing and everything else, because it's just going to be that new exit that we all need, whether it's opening up a new entrance to the industrial park. A lot of companies won't come out here because um, our industrial park only has one exit, and I didn't know that was a thing until I started hearing about it. um, so that will make our place, it'll give us more land to work with in general.
Well, people are, of course, some folks are going to cry if you hang them with a new rope. People are upset that Kingman's changing. And when I'm honest, I preferred Kingman 60 years ago. I thought it was I just enjoyed Kingman 60 years ago. But things are going to change whether we want them to or not. And what you exemplify and illustrate is, even though things are going to change, the only role we have in this is controlling the direction of that change, making sure it's for the better and not for the worse.
Yeah, I agree. There is I mean, it's I'm so excited about the opportunity. I don't even know what to say about it. It is so much potential that it needs to be smart.
Yeah,
It needs to be planned and well done. I hear everyone that talks about Kingman's current um, gripes and whatnot, and it's an aspect of fear that is warranted. I've seen I've
sure.
seen I've seen bad done before, and
Yeah,
you know, with this third exit, I think it'll alleviate the traffic on Stockton Hill. I think it'll give everyone a chance to get some new new stores and new shopping and new grocery stores. I think with growth comes services
hmm,
that will make everyone realize that we did need this. Whether I mean, we can't just keep growing without another exit.
yeah,
We would suffocate. And so, if anything, we should open this and see what happens after that.
yeah. One of the aspects too about Kingman's growth and change, that we're seen to be doing right is with a focus on tourism. This includes historic district revitalization, the Beale Street project, which is one block off Route 66 downtown Kingman. That was transformative. That is a catalyst. And now that Kingman Main Street has started, made arrangements to start working on the facade of the Hotel Beale, I think once work commences on the Hotel Beale, that'll be like jet fuel for historic district revitalization and tourism initiatives. I think that's going to be transformative as well.
There is an exhibit at the Powerhouse with Angel that
Yes.
they, and when I saw the number of people that come visit Angel, I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what a historic building like uh, Hotel Beale will do to our Route 66. Our Route 66 is so impressive. It's one of the longest drags in the nation, correct, Jim?
Well, it's
It's
the longest uninterrupted section of Route
okay.
66 from Partridge Creek Bridge up by Ash Fork to Topak. Depending on which alignment you follow, it's around 152 to 158 miles. We had a marketing plan that we were pushing, calling it 160 miles of smiles. Kind of a
No, I,
mislabel a little bit, but not by much.
I like that. Um, so I mean, it's impressive. You have everything from how Supai falls off the edge to us and our industrial park over at the entrance of Kingman. You have that big, beautiful train downtown. Um, the powerhouse is a site, and it's a nice drag.
Yeah. Hey, Kingman, if you put a dot in Kingman and draw a circle, say, of 100 miles, Kingman is at the center of probably one of the most amazing tourism destinations in the Southwest. And speaking of developments, the new trailhead and park scenic overview at the end of 4th Street behind the courthouse, that that's going to become a destination fast for visitors, Route 66 travelers. The views up there are just extraordinary. And for that to be in Kingman, downtown Kingman, it's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
and it's urban hiking. I would consider that urban hiking.
Yes.
And it this year, our parks department did a really good job of finishing and making sure that that got done and connected. So all three sides are connected together, whether you
Yeah.
drop over by the golf course or downtown or by the by Radio Hill,
Yeah.
eh, or no, by the canyon. Excuse me,
Yeah.
that's the third exit. Um, it is the views, like you said, are stunning. If you have
That is that is probably one of the best urban trail systems I'm aware of. And it truly is. I mean, you literally go over the top of the hill from, say, the parking lot on 4th Street. You would think you're in the middle of the desert wilderness.
oh,
And
hands
just
down.
and just 2 miles away, you're at the golf course and the Elks Lodge. It's yeah, that's spectacular.
And it has did you know that there's mountain biking up there too?
Mountain biking, yes. I don't know if you were aware of this, but I shared this with Josh and Bennett. Kingman is becoming known for mountain biking. I started checking out a lot of the blogs and websites about mountain biking, and there's a big buzz about the trail system there at White Cliffs Wagon Road, as well as the Surbat Foothills Recreation Area. It's be-
Absolutely, yeah. It's a growing sport. And I don't know if you've walked well, when you walk the trail system, I'm sure you have. There's they made sure to draw out paths and arrows so even your mountain biking trail is, you know, laid out in front of you.
Mhm.
And they've spent that time and effort and they did a great job.
Between the two trail systems, I don't know if you know the distance. I've been told there's now almost 50 miles of trails between White Cliffs Wagon Trail Road trail system and then the Surbat Recreation Area.
I heard
That,
50 as well. I believe your number's accurate.
and then, of course, just 12 miles south of Kingman, we have Wallapai Mountain Park, which is a pine forested oasis in a sea of desert. And that's got a tremendous trail system as well.
Not just a trail system, that place is one of the reasons I'm very adamant about the outdoors. When I majored in ecology, it was because I enjoyed being out in nature so much. Our mountain is a gem that that a lot of people don't get to see.
Yeah.
You go up there, 15-minute drive from the high desert, and you are boo in like a deciduous forest with pine trees and aspens and um, I mean, from the ground down here, you don't even expect that many pine trees up there.
Yeah.
But it is as if you just stepped into Colorado,
Yeah.
and you did not just hiking, go camping up there. There's Pine Basin where you go in through the main entrance and you turn left, and there's a place in the back that has a gate. It's closed off during the winter, but you go into the back over there and it is secluded, and it's as if you're backpacking and you're off grid for, like 10, 20 miles all of a sudden.
There's also a nice RV park there. The cabins are pretty rough, rustic, but those are pretty unique as well. They are were built by the CCC during the 1930s, and then of course Wallapai Mountain Lodge is a real gem.
Jim, can I ask what CCC is?
Oh, Civilian Conservation Corps. It was put in by the government under Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s, and it was to put people to work basically on community projects to help alleviate the unemployment of the era. And we've got quite a few things here that were done by the CCC and WPA Works Progress Administration during that period. But the cabins and the Wallapais are one example.
And I've had friends that mentioned that they've gone up to the cabins, they've stayed out there, and they said they're super affordable and they're really nice. So
Yeah,
um, those cabins have become really popular lately. A
yeah.
lot of people are mentioning them.
Well, if you live down in Lake Havasu City, and if anyone is listening from the Colorado River Valley, I do apologize. Uh, but in the summertime, you'll have 120 degrees down in Havasu. It's 60 miles to Kingman and then 12 miles up the mountain. And all of a sudden, it's 80 or 85 degrees. That's
Oh,
a pretty sizable difference and makes that a great summer oasis.
yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, I like to say it's a low, medium, high. If you want low, you go up to the Walpies. If you want medium heat, you stay in Kingman. If you want high heat, you go down to the river cities.
Oh,
And
you
it's
know,
20 degrees between all three of them.
I'm an old desert rat. I've been, out here so long. I am one of the dry roasted nuts. But you can get too much of a good thing in that river country in the summer. No offense, folks, but it's not hell. But I swear, if you squint hard, you can see it from there. It's that's pretty tough down there, And going back here to Import Corner and the airport, our airport industrial park is full of little gyms as well. The Airport Cafe, Import Corner, Desert Diamond Distillery is quite a little
Yeah.
gym out there.
You've been out there, right? To Desert
Yeah,
Diamond?
I haven't been there since they got their dining car going.
Yeah,
Uh,
so they have 3 or 4 Pullman cars, um, like full-blown train cars that they've renovated with seats and everything that you can go into and eat. And I believe they started a pizzeria out there.
yeah, that's one of the. They've got a 1919 dining car that they've converted into the pizzeria. I understand. And I need to get out there and see Debbie. I haven't been out there in a while.
Yeah. And then there's more retail coming out there. I know Big Deals just opened up out there.
Hmm.
Um, they're a bin shop, and then you mentioned Airport Cafe. If you ever
Y-
go there, get the crop duster. That's a great burger. One of my favorites.
The Airport Cafe is a great gym. I get folks from when I work with some of the people from tour companies, different things. I try to drag them out there to the Airport Cafe, and that's always a surprise for them because it's just a few blocks off Route 66. But it's one of those little hidden gems.
I've been eating at the Airport Cafe, I can probably say since 2000s when they first opened up. And one of my favorite things to this day is going there. for lunch and being surprised by a Black Hawk landing by my window or some crazy plane. They have the Ospreys there sometimes from Nevada. They'll come
Yeah.
here, um, they'll drop off some they'll drop down for a cup of coffee and then they'll head out. Um, but it's always cool watching those things take off vertically and then flip their motor or their propellers forward and zoom away.
I was very fortunate a couple of years ago. I got a tremendous photograph of from out on the apron outside the cafe, a B-17 Flying Fortress from World War II with the original World War II control tower as a backdrop. And that's always one of my favorite photos that I managed to get.
Yeah, and talking about photos, if you go inside that terminal, there are some beautiful photos of old Kingman, of old the old air World War II air base. It's you even see the pipes outside. That always blows my mind too, because those are ventilation pipes to a bunker underneath the ground.
Yeah. There's so much out there at the airfield, that Kingman has an incredible aviation history and going all the way back to 1919. It's pretty astounding. Hey, I got a question for you. Professor Nolan Stoltz out of South Carolina. He has a question. He says, do you have a favorite place down on Beale Street uh, that you could recommend?
There's a lot of cool places on Beale Street. Whether it's the photography businesses like Ella Photography or the farmhouse, um, or Blackbridge Brewery. My favorite stops is this new shop that just opened up that totally takes my conspiracy uh, funny bone out for a ride. It's called Kingman 53, and it's a shop that's based on the 1953 alien crash out here at Red Lake, right outside of Kingman, and started the protocols that started Area 51. Believe it or not.
I was no,
Uh,
I only recently learned through you actually, and then Christian. I just learned about that quote UFO crash. There was actually, I guess, three at 1953, but I wasn't aware that that was what led to Area 51's creation.
Yeah, the protocols, the SOPs that they wrote during the retrieval of this one created the fundamental framework for the creation of Area 51.
Well, that's another great chapter in Kingman's aviation history.
Yeah, and I believe Kingman's poised for another big boom coming. We just during my time at council, like last year, we actually finished up the dross remediation,
Yes.
cleaned up a bunch of toxic stuff out of the ground, and finished repaving that surface. So the the runways and the executive bunkers are all ready to be developed. Um, and then when that second exit is opened up from the Rancho Santa Fe Parkway, Kingman Industrial Airport which is currently number two, will boom.
For people who are listening and not familiar, the mediation, the cleanup out there was, see, the Kingman Airport was established in 1942 as the Kingman Army Airfield. And after the war, it became a salvage depot. And they cut up and melted down a lot of planes and things of that nature. That's what led to the cleanup. Paul Gaines has a business out there at the airport, and he's working on chronicling the history, hoping to get aviation museum set up out there. And recently, we went out together. He has found the location just east of the airport that is the site of, let's see, what was it? Western Air Express Terminal, which was 1925. We just located out there.
How cool is that? Paul is one cool guy. I mean, I've never seen someone so dedicated and so genuinely passionate about an airport as Paul, or aviation in general as Paul. Uh,
Well, he's very much like you. He's very community organ, he focused. Works with Kingman Main Street. He and the Kingman Main Street people, specifically him and Beth, were really the driving force behind creation of the Kingman Tours project.
wow, I didn't know that.
We have a question for you here. He says, "What are your future plans with Import Corner?"
So with Import Corner, we are, like I said, we're going into self-design. So I've been designing and making more one-of-a-kind stuff or unique design works. For example, if you go to our website, you'll notice we have a metal wall art section. We have 61 designs at the moment that are unique to us. 40 of them are directly mine, and 20 of those are Route 66 based. So whether it's a Route 66 and a motorcycle, or old Chevy, or just the Shield, or a Wayne gas pump. I had done some research on some Wayne gas pumps. And I get so many people asking, why is the name Wayne on these gas pumps? And the Wayne fuel systems were just, a thing of the past and a blast from history, and it really rocked my world um, when I read about them. But there's so many things from the past, especially when it comes to the automobile and that motor head or that gear head vibe of Route 66.
Mm-hmm.
That's just lost in time, or being lost in time, like an air pump. We sell air pumps with Michelin or Texaco, and I get two questions. One, what's Michelin? I mean, excuse me, what's Texaco? And two, what's an air pump?
That's a can of worms. You go through these stages in life that's like a cold glass of water thrown in your face that brings you up short how old you are. Just as an example, a couple of years ago, I was covering the opening of a museum in El Segundo, California. And one of their prize exhibits was an AMC Pacer from the 1970s. And it brought me up short because I was working in the garage when those cars were new, and now it's a museum piece.
Oh my.
So when you mention things like Texaco and these gas pumps, yeah, you don't have to get back, 50 years ago is the 1970s. So, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of this.
Don't remind me. I still keep thinking as the 80s is 20 years ago. But
Oh, yeah.
now, but I'm part of the generation that knows what the save icon really is, a floppy disk.
Yes. Hey,
And then, yeah, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, your store. It's always so eclectic. It's always changing. And now that you're creating and designing things, I have a feeling this is going to get real interesting real fast.
It's when you have a blank, like when you have that canvas in front of you, it's been it you almost have too many options sometimes. You don't know what to get into.
Yeah.
Our family makes these Turkish mosaic lamps, and they're handmade. They're part of old Turkish tradition. Back in the what 1500s, the in the autumn during the Ottoman Empire, the glass district and the art district got together to do a collaboration for a gift for the sultan of the time. um, they basically said, "Hey, we should put these make some mosaic patterns on some glass and put a candle in it, and there'll be lanterns around the palace." If you know Islamic art at the time, it's very geometric. It's not. You won't find many faces. You won't like the mosaics of the Byzantines or anything like that. So a lot of geometric intricacies. Um, and we've modernized that tradition. So our family will put electrical inside of those lanterns and make these beautiful mosaic lamps. Now we started designing custom pieces, so huge, 8, 10 foot tall chandeliers we currently have at the store. But we did do a special order for Pace and Country Golf Club. Um, the gentleman over there, it's a 3-story mansion that he's converted into a country club, and he had this antiquated chandelier down the middle, and we were commissioned to redo that whole thing. So we made a almost 40-foot long chandelier for him, and it's stunning. If you ever go to Payson Country Club, you'll notice the hot air balloons, I like to call them, that are rising through the stairwell.
I was really surprised. Like, say, I've known of Import Corner, and I've known your father for quite a while. But I was really surprised in one of our conversations when you talked about where merchandise from Import Corner has turned up or been commissioned for.
Yeah.
Casinos, country clubs.
Oh, where the most recent notice of my lamp, one of my lamps, was in a podcast in England that's focused on cryptocurrency, and I was like, "What?" You open up the video, and sure as heck, right in the background, you have one of our lamps. And then our products have become uh, they've been props in shows like Avatar, the Airbender one.
Okay.
Um, we've had our baskets there. We've had some other pirate themed decor in that. It's been really ever since I took over in 16. It's been a wild ride. It's always different every and you know whether it's COVID or the best times,
Oh, yes.
it's always been an adventure.
The
importing
apo-
importing during COVID was something else,
the year of the apocalypse. Yeah.
right?
Hey, do you speaking of importing, do you also go on the international buying trips?
So I started COVID. This is a perfect time to ask for this because COVID was like right when I was about to start beginning my trips, like to. So I've always done Mexico and Turkey and U.S. Um, and then right when I was about to do a trip to both China and India, COVID hit, and it shut down travels for 3 years almost.
Yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, and then back in 23 last year was my first time doing China personally, and it's it's a different world, Jim. Like everywhere you go, it's something else. So you are so grateful to be in America and live where you do every time you go somewhere that's not America.
Yeah, that's something I think the people in the United States, as far as industrialized countries, we don't travel enough. And you need that travel, especially international travel, to have a balanced perspective. You realize that there's room for improvement, that we can learn from other countries, but you realize how fortunate we are to be here. And it really puts that into perspective.
Absolutely.
Very much
Um,
so.
I think you also nailed it. I think there's also an aspect of there's so much to learn outside of the country as well.
Yes.
It's I think you have to go in with both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I know my first trip to Europe was transformative. It really I I got to tell you, it changed everything. I realized after I'd went to Europe a few times that without intending to, I'd been living my life so myopic and so narrow minded. I could probably look down a beer bottle with both eyes, and it was really life changing experiences. I want to encourage folks that are listening. If you're in Kingman, you need to add the Airport Industrial Park as a stop. There's lots of historic stuff to see. The old gunnery range. There's places to eat, like we said, Desert Diamond Distillery and the Airport Cafe. But Import Corner is something you got to experience, and it will surprise you to find a store like this in a place like Kingman. This is the kind of thing you'd expect to find in New York City or Los Angeles, but to find it in Kingman, I guarantee you're going to be surprised.
Yeah, so we're wholesalers at heart. Our whole catalog is on the floor, so in our showroom, which is open to the public. So you'll have access to over 5,000 items from over 50 countries. Everything from, like I said, big gazebos to small wind chimes, rugs, um, clothing, chess sets. I mean, you name it, we got it. Basically, if you can't find it at Walmart, you'll find it in Import Corner.
We had your rugs are very popular with folks I've brought out. Whitney Ortiz and her husband. She was at the time she was the tourism director in Atlanta, and I brought her out, and they just fell in love with some of your rugs, and I believe you shipped them for her. Yeah, you've got something. You got a real treasure there, my friend. A real
Thank you.
treasure.
Like I said, I have big shoes to fill, and it's become, you know, uh, I love it. I mean, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing.
Uh, do you do you have any import corner? I can imagine takes up between that and a young family that ties up most of your time, probably 30 hours in a day. But do you have any plans beyond import corner for the city or other initiatives that you've got in mind?
So I've got a few things in the pipes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in 2 years. I did apply to be a commissioner, so we'll see what happens with that in the next meeting on the 17th. Besides that, on my personal side, I will be keeping my city cleanings going. So every other month, I believe, once when February, and then every other month after that, once we get through the holidays and my show schedule. I have my Silver Tsunami series, which is like an awareness campaign at this point, that has definitely been a passion project for me. It's a serious ordeal. Kingman is one of the oldest. Well, Mojave County is the second oldest county in the nation, right behind the villages in Florida. The national median age is 38 years old. Kingman's median, I mean, Kingman's median age is 51 and Mojave County's is 53.
Ooh.
So we're 14 years above median average. The national Social Security average is 1735 per se on the books for Social Security checks per month. Um, and honestly, I've talked to so many people and I have not met anyone that's close to that number. I've seen people with Social Security checks in the 700, and probably the max I've seen is around 1250.
Mhm.
And it's a stark picture. I mean, the thing, if for those who don't know what the silver tsunami is, do you mind if I give a rundown real quick,
No,
Jim?
no, please go ahead.
So it's a term that was coined a while ago, like a year or two ago is when I first heard it. And it's basically this idea that the baby boomers, so everyone born after the Second World War, this is when everyone's reaching that retirement age between 65 and, at
Right.
65. Um, it's a generation that outnumbers the young. It's the biggest generation. And by 2030, everyone will be 65. So right now in the year 2025, we'll have 10,000 Americans nationwide turning 65 per day. By 2030, we'll have 10,000 Americans turning 80 per day.
Mm.
Um, this is going to affect everything from and I don't think at this point this is all speculation. I think we see this happening now. So I mean
Right.
um I don't want to say I'm just speaking out of, speculation. That's all I want to. But the aging population is going to impact healthcare, Social Security, housing, labor, and in ways that you don't even think about. You would think, oh, everyone's turning 65, everyone's going to retire, and we're not going to have any workers. It's actually there's another side to this. Yes, that's one of the things, but two, um, there's a lot of people that can't afford to retire.
Right.
And when a generation doesn't move out of senior management or senior positions, there's no room for growth for younger generations for them to get that solid paycheck that they can, run their family on. And I wrote a whole series on this. If you go to my website, kingmanvoice.com,
Okay.
um, and you go into the blogs, you'll find at least 4 parts are live right now. The first one explains what the silver tsunami is. The second one is kind of like a what will happen during the silver tsunami. And it talks about the increased healthcare demand. It talks about workforce shortages, strain on social programs, the economic shift. I mean, this is one of the biggest wealth transfers um, in our history, and housing challenges with affordable housing. Part three will be discussing things that you can do on your own accord. So on a personal level, whether it's financial planning, um, learning new work skills, or just a healthy lifestyle, or just um, proofing your house, making sure you have non-slip showers or handlebars by your
Right.
restrooms, um, and just downsizing or learning, finding people that you can live with and make a roommate. And then part four was basically just hypothetical, what could happen on a local level, what could happen on a state level, and what could happen on a federal level to alleviate this, whether it's social security and Medicare reform at the federal level, or just encourage age-friendly infrastructure in at your local level. This is more like government solutions to
Right.
for. And then right now I'm also working on parts 5, 6, and 7. Part 5 is going to be like a what's happening now, and this is where I started to really hear stories after I published these first 4. I
Hmm.
started getting a lot of stories from a lot of people across the country, talking about how they're 65 and they have no retirement, and or like, hey, um we were, my husband and I were living together in our paid for home. Like, they were one of the lucky ones that don't have, a mortgage at the age of 65, but her spouse died, and now she's at
Hmm.
risk at losing her house because she can't afford her bills. I mean, getting a buy on one social security check is just, it's something else. It's uh sorry, you want to.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. And
I was just gonna say something else. Another aspect of this that you might look into that's really being changed by this aging is the tourism sector.
oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can only imagine the kids these days that are trying to save money for, like I said, a house or something, or just trying to get
Yeah.
by, and who's gonna go on that vacation. And yeah, absolutely, I'm sure there's gonna be an aspect of that. I didn't even think about that.
Well,
So right.
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, so I was just gonna finish. Part 6 and part 7 are also scheduled. Part 6 will be how the silver tsunami is affecting veterans in particular.
Hmm.
And then part 7 will be about uh, the broken system, whether that's healthcare gaps, or um, something that a lot of people don't hear about is elder abuse and elder neglect, and exploitation. Like, my mom most recently got this text from USPS, right? Or it looks like it's from USPS, from the post service, saying, "Hey, we couldn't get your package to you because there was a misprint, or some of the address was wrong. Please click on this link and fill out the address." And my mom said, "Oh, she clicked on it, and I was right next to her." And I said, "No, no, don't do that. That's a scam." And I've heard
Ah.
horror stories, Jim. It's really, I mean, I think I heard some stupid number like $600 billion lost to scams, and I was just blown away.
That's really a tragedy when we start doing that. That is just really tragic. I, when you were talking about this, I started thinking about on the tourism aspect. We're starting to see a great example is the Americana Motor Hotel up in Flagstaff. This is a 1962 property, a big property, about 90 rooms. That was a typical old motel turned into almost a crack house ready for demolition. with about a $9 million plus investment, transformed this. But in the past, when people were renovating these old motels, they were going for that 1950s nostalgia kind of look. And the Americana, even though it's a 1962 property, they kept the original architectural elements, but they gave it a funky retro vibe with disco balls and things of this nature that that reflect a changing a changing demographic in tourism. I found kind of interesting.
That's is that the one that's we got the Christmas display up right now?
No, this is up in Flagstaff, the Americana Motor Hotel.
I think I'm thinking of little. Is there a Little America up in Flagstaff as well?
Yeah, there is a little America up there
Okay,
too. Yeah,
I'm confusing the two of them. Okay.
not a problem.
Um, yeah, and you have to evolve with the times.
Yeah,
And um, a lot of people, I mean, as someone who makes and sells Route 66 wall art and
yeah,
clocks, I notice my demographic's been getting smaller.
yeah. We've got to change a few things on that for sure, sir. I think we can do this again. We've got once we get to talking, you just spark my imagination with all kinds of thoughts and swirling things here. But
Well,
I really appreciate you taking time from your weekend with your family to do this morning. Uh, this has been a really fun visit, and I for one am very appreciative.
I didn't realize an hour went by.
That's okay. We got flexibility here, and well, it's like the frog says, "Time's fun when you have flies." But on a
Yeah,
serious note, time flies when you sit down with friends and have a cup of coffee.
yeah.
I've
Jim, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
You need to publish your sayings. You need to write all of them down because I've heard like three or four during this podcast alone that I just love.
Well, thank you. Yeah, a lot of people tell me I should be on TV, but I realize they just wish they could turn me off. And the other part of that is the reason we do this. People ask why we don't do video with this. Well, the reason is kind of simple. I have a face for radio, not for television. Guys,
See, what an example.
I really have appreciated this very, very much, and I want to thank you for not
Can
just
I
for.
just
Yes, please.
I just want one. Earlier I said some when I was talking about the scam and I said 600 billion. I just looked it up. It's actually between 3.4 billion and 28.3 billion. I'm an appreciator of facts, and
Yes.
I just want to correct the record on that one.
Ah, good. Thank you. And thank you for joining me this morning. But I want to also thank you for what you and your family have contributed to making Kingman really a special place and helping to make this a destination, not just for visitors, but for people who want to raise a family or looking for a great place to open a business. And I just
Yeah,
want to, I'm really appreciative.
and Kingman's a hub. It's a hub to be. Like, we already have customers that fly into Vegas. I go pick them up in the morning. I bring them to my showroom. They do their thing, and then I drop them back off by night,
Yeah.
and get them on a plane. And it's that, whether people coming in for an event, or just passing through, it is the stop between what, four major cities,
Yep.
five. I mean,
Yep.
what a perfect location. What,
Yeah.
two major highways go through it,
And,
um,
and Amtrak.
and Amtrak.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Kingman, it's a place close to my heart. It is my heart.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us. And
Thank
well,
you for
we'll have to
having me,
do this
Jim.
again some. Yeah, you bet. And for everybody who's listening this morning, we do this every Sunday morning about 7 o'clock. Um, this will be published later today. I have arranged to have an embedded player on different websites, including the B.News, Kingman Tours, Jim Hinckley's America, and well, it'll be published on Spotify and others, so you can always listen to this for reference. And
Can I
you'll get
also shout out to, not shout out, but just mention if you ever need resources, whether that's um, housing or food or anything, you can always go to kingmanvoice.com, click on resources, and we have a 211 section that will, you just plug in what you need and it'll give you statewide um, resources. Or if you click on the tabs individually, they'll give you local resources specifically for Kingman and Mojave County. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that that is there. That's pretty comprehensive. If your listeners know a resource that's not on there, please send it to me and I will add it to the website. No cost at all. So
very
I just
good.
want to make that out there.
Thank you. So, what are we going to do next week? Well, let's give you a sneak peek.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Well, folks, that was a fun one today, wasn't it?
It really was.
I always love our little trips to these kind of hidden corners of the U.S. on Coffee with Jim.
Oh, me too.
I mean, did you know there was a place called Import Corner,
I did not.
right?
It's Kingman, Arizona?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Oh, no.
I mean, I knew there was a Kingman, Arizona,
Yeah, right.
of course, from the show, but
Yeah.
no, I've never heard of Import Corner, and it just seems like such a delightful little.
Sounds like my kind of place.
It does.
Yeah.
Really
And
might
also,
move.
I thought it was really interesting to hear about all those tourism initiatives they got going on in the Kingman area.
Oh,
Like, it seems like they're really doing a lot to build community through travel and
Yeah.
tourism, which I
Yeah.
thought was really cool.
it was really interesting, and it kind of reminded me how important that local connection is. Like when you go someplace and you really feel like you're experiencing the place through the eyes of the people that live there.
Yeah. It adds a whole other dimension to travel,
Absolutely.
and it sounds like Kingman is really
Doing it right.
doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting a lot of thought into it.
Now, speaking of travel and unique experiences, are you ready for a little trip back in time next week?
Oh, always.
Because we're diving into the world of New York's World's Fairs.
Wow.
We'll be joined by Gloria Nash,
Okay.
author of Looking Back at the Future, photographing vintage leftovers of New York's World's Fairs.
Ooh, very cool.
Now,
You had me at leftovers.
I know, right?
What kind of leftovers are we talking about?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
You might think that the World's Fairs are like a distant memory,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but Gloria has found over 60 surviving structures and objects from these fairs,
Really?
mostly from the 1939 and 1964 fairs.
Wow.
Um,
That's so cool. So
yeah.
these are like physical pieces of history that are still standing.
exactly.
I mean, I've seen pictures of the Unisphere, of course.
Of course, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything else that survived
Wow.
that I can think of.
You're in for a treat
I'm excited.
because Gloria's book is it's like a visual feast
Okay.
of these amazing remnants from the past.
So
Yeah.
like walking through the book, it's like you're on a scavenger hunt
It is.
through history.
It's like a scavenger hunt through time.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's not just about like seeing these cool objects.
Right.
It's about understanding what they represent.
Yeah.
Like-
What do these things tell us?
Yeah, what stories do they tell about our hopes and fears for the future?
Oh.
For example, she talks about how the architecture of the 64 fair reflected the optimism of the space age.
Oh, yeah.
Like everyone was looking up.
Right.
you know.
At the stars.
And then the 39 fair, on the other hand, that was during the Great Depression.
Oh, right.
So it showcased technological innovation as a way to overcome hardship.
Wow. So it's almost like they were saying, like, look at all this cool technology that's going to save us.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just so fascinating to see how our perspectives on the future change over time.
It is. And to see it reflected in these physical objects
Mm.
must be so powerful.
And the coolest thing is that Gloria's book even provides addresses and a map for walking tours
No way.
in Flushing Meadows Corona Park.
So you can actually go see this stuff.
You go on your own little World's Fair adventure.
That's amazing.
So if you are as intrigued by this as I am,
Oh, definitely.
you've got to join us next Sunday morning,
Yes.
7:00 a.m. Arizona time,
Okay, I'll be there.
for Coffee with Jim.
I won't miss it.
Yeah, we'll be chatting with Gloria Nash about her book and all these fascinating things.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, folks, until then,
Happy travels.
happy travels. See you next week. Bye.
Well, my friends, it's been a great visit today. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. And don't forget to stop out there at Import Corner when you're in Kingman, and I'll start out with breakfast at the Airport Cafe. Again, thank you, Jenga, for joining us this morning.
No problem, Jim. Anytime.
Well, my friends, until we meet again, we'll send you out with some music from Joe and Woody and, well, the boys of the road crew. If this doesn't inspire a road trip or two, I don't know what will. The roadcrew66.com. Until next week, my friends, vaya con Dios. Adios, my friends.
Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.